Thanks for joining us. I'm Nathan Holtz with my friend and fellow commentator for Rogue Gaming, Al Wasserman. Just after the Ubisoft conference, they had a really exciting intro. I mean, who doesn't want to see a drum major panda stomping through the theater?
All sorts of choreographed dancing and marching band, and that was insane. It was a way to open a conference.
Yeah, for Just Dance 2019, yes, right? Yes. So that should be exciting for all those that love the Just Dance franchise. I think they did something similar last year, from what I remember. But then, Beyond Good and Evil 2. The cinematics were over the top. The classic space opera genre, yes, right? Yes. The Nemesis Jade back, co-op gameplay, ground to vehicle to space fighting. I guess the vehicle is kind of like air, yes, flying around in a smaller vehicle or whatever on a planet. And it seemed like all of that was just seamless. And then the real big surprise there was this collaboration with Joseph Gordon-Levitt's company, Hit Record, where they're going to allow fans and artists and creators to create content for the radio within the game, for the art within the game. I think that looks absolutely amazing. I'm actually really excited about that bit. People collaborating together to bring something into this universe and be able to see it. After that little bit of a refresher, what'd you think?
Yeah, definitely helpful. So, you've got all the crazy animal character, anthropomorphic monkey man and a pig, and looks awesome. And to your point, it looks enormous, space opera, almost Mass Effect like in the way that they presented it, where you could go out and get in vehicles and do some of that stuff. The Hit Record, that's awesome. Think back to being able to do that for other games, for Fallout or things like that. Be able to get your work in those games would be amazing. Either to hear it on the Pip-Boy radio, or in this case on the radio in that game. The other nice thing that they didn't really mention on the press conference was that the creators are actually compensated for their time and for things that actually get into the game. So it's a nice way to kind of spread the wealth, if you will, and reward you for getting your stuff into the game. Obviously, there's going to have to be a humongous level of curation and review of that kind of stuff, because you're going to get a lot of weird stuff also that's going to try to squeak through some of those filters. But yeah, it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, you mentioned Fallout. I would love to see it there. Whenever we get the next Grand Theft Auto game, I think that's another one that would be just the par for the course, yes, right? For a collaboration like that. Yeah. So I'm really excited to see this. Then they showed a little bit of Rainbow Six Siege, or talked about it. I didn't know how big this game had become. 35 million players strong, huge community. New DLC, Operation Parabellum, yes, right?
With Italian operators. So this game, it's a PvP only game, similar in the vein to Counter-Strike, CS, CSGO. So it's amazingly popular for a game that when it first came out didn't review real well, but they continue to support the game as Ubisoft does, continue to add a ton of new content, ton of new operators, and it really shows that they have a passion for this particular IP, which really helps kind of engage the community and continue to make a real strong showing with that IP.
Yeah. We followed that up with Trials. Guy coming in on a dirt bike. This is a motocross kind of game. Looked like tons and tons of stunts in very difficult situations, wrecking balls flying at you, lots of explosions. I mean, it looked insane, and it really gave a lot of time to what I would call the fail culture, right? Yeah. They should have just put hashtag epic fail as the subtitle
Right.
for this game, as much as they showed of that. The physics look great. I want to play it. What do you think?
Yeah, it shows the kind of sport blooper culture that we tend to have, where we laugh at other people's failure. Luckily, these aren't real people. These are video game motorbikers who are getting impaled or flying into exploding gas cans, all sorts of crazy situations you would never find out, on a real motocross bike. But just for the sheer laugh factor of what we went through when we watched that video, that would be it's gonna be a great streaming game. I think it's gonna be one of those games that gets a lot of hits on Twitch and on Mixer, because just watching people just set up these jumps and completely just fail out is gonna be, it's gonna be hilarious.
Agreed. We also saw a new Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battles Donkey Kong Adventure. That is one heck of a title.
The longest title in E3 history. I will go on record to say that.
I wonder if it's longer than that Pearl Jam song title. It might be. But anyways.
Maybe, it might be.
It looked like it was going to be another tactics game in the same vein as the first Mario Rabbids game. It looked a lot of fun to me. Again, another reason to buy a Switch for me. What do you think?
Yeah, did have that same kind of Mario Rabbids XCOM tactical game. Everything I've seen about that previous game, the Mario's game, was awesome. Looked like a lot of fun. Did look like there was some platforming though in this, where you could get up vertical, maybe do some different things vertically with the Donkey Kong. Again, it was a real fast trailer, had a lot going on in it. So hopefully, as we go more into this week, we'll see more about that, especially from Nintendo, and really kind of get an idea of what that game's going to be.
They followed that up with something I think everybody was excited to see a little bit more of, which is Skull and Bones. Actually got to see what looked like some play in that game instead of just trailer. And to me, it looked a lot like Assassin's Creed's combat, ship combat that everybody loved from Black Flag. And they've just expanded that, made this pirate thing a lot more interesting. I personally, I don't know if I'm going to buy a game that's just that aspect from Assassin's Creed. But what about you?
Yeah, you go back and you think about, like you said, Black Flag. That was some people's favorite part of that game, was sailing the seas and just destroying every ship that came in their path. So this looks a lot like that, as you said, just with those next gen graphics, that next gen ability to have water rolling off the bridge. The seas look more dangerous maybe than they ever have in this type of thing. Definitely leaning on that pedigree that they have from the Assassin's Creed game. So I might be in day one. I love boats. I love pirates. I love blowing stuff up. So I think this could be one of those games where you just kind of sit back, you play it, you enjoy it. Maybe your spouse or partner watches you and kind of directs you, hey, take out that ship, or maybe you should align with these folks. The interesting thing that I think we saw about that was it can get to PvE or PvP, depending on how you want to go about that. So, we have the ability to team up, and then maybe you get turned on during that combat, and all your stuff is stolen. So that's kind of the downside to that model, but I think it looks awesome.
Yeah, I think if I could get like 2 or 3 friends to play with me, like piloting their own ships and coordinate and kind of play it in more of a co-op kind of fashion, even though it's that open world with lots of different players in it, I would definitely be a little bit more inclined to pick it up and give it a try. If I can get the friends to coordinate.
Yeah. Have your own fleet.
Right? Yeah. Maybe I need some new friends out there who like pirates. I'm sure there's lots of you. You'll have to look me up online.
That's right.
And maybe we'll be able to play some Sea and Bones together when it finally comes out. After that, we saw the VR title from Elijah Woods. I forget the company that he's working with, but he's working in concert with another company to create this game, Transference. We saw some of it last year.
Yeah.
We saw more of it this year. Psychological thriller. Looks creepy.
Yeah.
For sure. will it make you play VR?
Probably not. Not this title. Awesome on Ubisoft to bring in these celebrity kind of side deal companies. You had Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Now we have Elijah Wood. Would love to support The Hobbit. That we all know and love of Elijah. But it's one of those things where it looks interesting, but it's not enough for me to go invest in that VR technology. The gameplay was cool. It was spooky, but then there was this whole, I felt like father experimenting on their son thing and being kind of a new dad. That's a tough hurdle for me.
I feel you there. Also, being a new dad, it would be hard for me to play that kind of game. Then we moved to Starlink, Battle for Atlas. The space combat game looked super interesting. Dropped a big bomb in Star Fox, appearing as a Switch exclusive in this game. They even pulled out all the stops, had Miyamoto, gave him a prototype of the Star Fox ship and character for this toy-based. It's kind of like
Toys to Life.
Yeah, Toys to Life. Yep. Legos meets No Man's Sky or something.
Yep.
I don't know.
That's a great example.
But it was a really sweet moment with Miyamoto. What do you think about this Toys to Life movement? What do you think it's going to do here?
Well, the other ones have all kind of gone away except for Skylanders. So it makes me wonder about the longevity of this, because the investment can be extremely high for these types of things. If you want to continue to evolve in the game, get new ships, get new parts, get new people, it's going to be, similar to the way that Disney Infinity was, where you're constantly having to go out and buy new expansion packs and your core demographic, kids in most cases for these types of games, aren't going to have the disposable income. So that goes on the parents to pay for. So I always worry about that kind of long-term playability of a game like this. But the Star Fox thing is awesome. I think they just put out that Star Fox 2 on the SNES Classic, which was an unfinished prototype of that game. So kind of following on the footsteps of maybe some Star Fox excitement. Maybe we'll see more from Nintendo on that. But yeah, the Miyamoto thing, it was cool to see him in the audience, but it was a little bit of a PR stunt too. I felt like you saw him for 30 seconds before they ushered him backstage. So, but still really cool. And adding that character to that universe gives it a little bit more flavor, I think.
Yeah, definitely good for all the Switch and Nintendo fans out there.
Switch.
Yep. And I'll say, if the booster packs that have the ships and the weapons and stuff in them, if they're not like hidden boosters, or mystery boosters, and you know what you're buying, then I'd be a little bit more apt to try something like that, because I would prefer to know what I'm going to get in game personally.
You don't need 50 generic blue pilots.
Right. I don't want mythic rare characters showing up in mystery boxes. Now they followed that up with the For Honors franchise as kind of expansion to add samurais to the game, an expansion called Marching Fire. It looked fantastic. I haven't played For Honor. I've watched some gameplay. It looks like it's a lot of fun. This might get me involved. What do you think? Are you going to play?
I might. The addition of the samurai warrior gives a completely different dynamic. They have a different combat style than the kind of hack and slash of some of the ones that are kind of the base classes within that game. The 4v4 castle siege that they showed off in this thing too, where you get to team up with your friends and really just take a castle, right? And there's siege engines, and there's all sorts of really cool new gameplay that they're bringing into that. So it might be something to really explore again with a group of friends who are all kind of like-minded in their way of playing, because you don't want one person running off and costing everyone the battle, right? So, but it looks great.
Yeah, fair enough. Also, we should mention Starter Edition of For Honor, free June 11th through the 18th to download. And they're adding that new mode, like you mentioned, Breach, very soon. That's supposed to be playable here on the show floor at E3. So maybe we'll get a chance to play with that and see what it's like. I'm certainly excited about it. Then they followed up with the Crew 2. I have not played the Crew franchise personally. I do enjoy racing games, usually very serious racing games like Gran Turismo. But what do you think of this one?
It looks great, and on the heels of some of the other games not doing real well, those kind of more arcadey racers, Need for Speed, and some of the other ones that are out there. I think this gives a good counterbalance to the Forzas or the Gran Turismos, which are driving sims, right? This looks more fun. It brings in all the aspects of any type of racing you could think of. It's got air, sea, land, dirt bikes, ATVs, everything. I feel like there's a dynamic in this game that is not there in a lot of other racing games where you're just kind of stuck driving a car on a track. I might be in. I didn't play the first one either, but I was a huge Need for Speed fan. The last few games have really let me down, so maybe this is something to step into that and be able to kind of have that same kind of arcade racer feel to it.
Yeah. Then we got to see the thing that everybody was waiting for and we knew was coming, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Basically looks like Origins, but in Greece. I put probably 100 hours or more into Origins. I love the more RPG aspects that they've added to this franchise. I'm really excited for this, being the child or descendant of Leonidas, and being able to play either a male character or a female character. Choosing a character for the first time in the series is a big thing. I'm excited to see that. I'm glad that they're going that route. It opens up a world of possibilities, I think. What things are you looking forward to in this game?
This is Sparta, right? You look at the gameplay, and one of the big moves that they do is you see the protagonist kicking a guy off a cliff. First thing I thought of was the movie, right? So I love that kind of Spartan-esque combat. Also, we saw kind of later in the trailer or the showcase, they have kind of big battles, right? Where it's kind of more of a dynasty warriors. Everyone's fighting everybody, and then the two, the boss versus you, kind of typical battle that sets up. Really great looking combat. It was very different than the other Assassin's Creeds, where we saw the female playing in the trailer, where she was bounding back and forth, she was rolling, she was dodging. It wasn't about strength; it was about agility. So hopefully there is that different dynamic gameplay. A little bit what they took from the British version of the Assassin's Creed entry, so where they each had kind of a different gameplay style. So hopefully we'll see more of that. But the tie to Leonidas is pretty cool. It kind of ties it back into history. We saw Socrates. I'm sure we're going to see some other folks as well in that game, just like we always do. So awesome.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see what other characters from Greek lore and mythology. We saw a little bit of a hint of maybe a Minotaur boss that you face at some point, which seems really exciting to me. The whole idea you create your own Odyssey. So it definitely will be an epic adventure. I can't wait to play it. I'm actually happy too that unlike a lot of the other games that we've seen, there was not as much brutality, like in the visceral, like graphic sense. Obviously, Assassin's Creed, there's a lot of fighting, but I like that it's not going to be high in gore or anything. So maybe it's a little bit more approachable to the general audience.
More family friendly.
Yeah, slightly, slightly more family friendly. But that's something I'm glad that they're sticking with. I saw all these things that I was like, I want to climb it, right? And I could probably talk for like a half hour just about Assassin's Creed. But that was how they ended the show. I thought it was a great way for them to end the conference that way.
And of course, that was how they were going to end it, right? That's really their marquee product right now. So, and again, we skipped a year. 2 years ago, we had Origins, and now we have Odyssey. So it looks like maybe they're back on that every year production schedule, which means more Assassin's Creed to come. So hopefully it'll keep up that kind of high quality product.
Yeah, I mean, they mentioned that they've been working on this game for a while too, so I think maybe they have a plan for the franchise that's going to go a lot of interesting directions. So anyways, we really appreciate you joining us, Rogue Gaming, here at E3. We're going to have tons of content. There's lots of events that we have going on, so please look for us online. You can find us virtually everywhere that you can find video content. So thank you.
Live long and prosper.